Hello. Are you ready for the Black Friday edition of Free Advice Friday? Let's do this. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys, answering your voiceover business and marketing questions for the next hour or so. And, having some fun on Free Advice Friday. That is the plan, as always. So, hope you guys had a fantastic Thanksgiving. Hopefully, you got an opportunity to spend some time with family and people that you love and eat some good turkey. Smoked turkey is always the best. Just saying, just putting that out there. I was reading a very interesting article that talked about Black Friday and how Black Friday really isn't a thing like it used to be anymore. Like you used to hear stories. I had friends when I was younger who would literally go out the night before and get in lineups. Like they would get in lineups at 2 o'clock in the morning to be able to grab all the amazing deals on Black Friday and stuff like that apparently doesn't happen anymore. And Black Friday hasn't really it's evolved, right? I mean, we do all our shopping online on Amazon or whatever anyway, so we don't have to do crazy stuff like that. But still, some good deals out there to be had for Black Friday, no doubt. I wanted to start off today, though, by talking about the holidays because I think that we are now, officially into the holiday season. My family is planning on putting up our Christmas tree tonight. That is the plan after the live stream is done. But one of the things that I think that is misunderstood, I think that a lot of people make the assumption that the holiday season is done, game over, right? There's nothing going on in voiceover. All the businesses have shut down. There's no work happening. Everybody's already wrapped it up for the year. And I just don't think that that's true. What I think is actually more true is voice actors, typically speaking, don't like doing marketing. And so when you don't like doing marketing, you will come up with any reason for why you don't have to market. And if you believe the narrative that it's pointless to market over the holiday season, then that gives you a really good opportunity to say, well, then I guess there's no point in marketing. And so you create a self-fulfilling prophecy, really is what's happening. Where that creates an opportunity is for the voice actor who is still willing to do the marketing over the next few weeks, because I actually do think that there are a lot of opportunities that are out there right now. I actually do think that it is going to be even easier to cut through the noise, because if it's true that so many voice actors think that marketing at this point is pointless, and trust me, I know that that's what a lot of them think because I've been coaching for a decade and I've heard it all before. That means that there's a lot less people who are out there who are competing right now. There are a lot fewer people who are sending emails. There are a lot fewer people who are doing social media. There are a lot fewer people who are making connections on LinkedIn because they've all given up. They've all shut it down until January. And so for the voice actor who is willing to continue to show up every day, for the voice actor who is willing to continue to send the emails, who is willing to continue to do the LinkedIn connections, who is willing to continue to do the social media content, et cetera, I genuinely believe there are opportunities out there for you. I genuinely believe that it is going to be easier to cut through the noise. And I genuinely believe that there is going to be a lot less competition to make it happen. And so that is why I think that you should be continuing to market yourself over the next few weeks. Take advantage of the opportunities that are out there. I taught a class 2 weeks ago, last week, I guess it was, booked for the holidays. 1 hour workshop. And in the span of that 1 hour, I presented 14 different unique and fun ways that you can market your voiceover business over the holiday season. But because I had more ideas, I ended up creating a bonus resource that had an additional 14 ideas, and that was provided to everyone who signed up for the class. And then I also mapped out a 31-day marketing challenge for the month of December. And that was also offered as a bonus to anyone who came to the class. The people who came to that class and who follow through on those things are people who are going to find themselves creating opportunities for themselves over the holiday season. So I don't think that it's too late. I think that I will put a pause on my primary email marketing efforts probably starting on December 22nd. But I will still be continuing to contact people up until that point. And I will certainly be present the week between Christmas and New Year's, which is kind of like that lost, forgotten week where nobody really knows who they are or where they are or what day of the week it is or what's going on or whatever, I will still be showing up during that week as well. And I think that anybody else who is showing up with me, I mean, there's probably going to be a lot fewer of us that are out there doing it. And that means that the opportunities created and to be had will not be as heavily competed for. And that is a good thing. Now, if you're interested in checking out Booked for the Holidays, I've got it on sale, half price, Black Friday. If you go to VOpreneur.com/Black Friday, VOpreneur.com/Black Friday. I've got a bunch of masterclasses and courses on sale. So these masterclasses here, those are all $50 off, and the discount's already been applied. These workshops here, these are all half price. Discount has already been applied, but there's Booked for the Holidays. Discount has been applied on that. That's actually over half price. So half off, over 50% off for this course right here. But if you want to sign up for that, you get instant access to the class. Plus, you're going to get those bonuses that I was just talking about, that 31-day holiday marketing challenge. And you're going to get even more marketing ideas, that PDF that has 14 additional ideas. So put the link in the chat. It's there if you want to check it out. That is the Black Friday special happening at VOpreneur. But what I'm really here for is to answer your voiceover business and marketing questions. So if you do have a question that you would like to ask and get answered, this is the opportunity to do it. When you want to type your question, I would just ask if you put it in the chat. If you throw up a Q beside it, it just makes it a little bit easier for me to see once the chat really gets popping. But I would love to be able to answer as many questions as I can here for the next little while. For those of you who are not standing outside and waiting in line somewhere and trying to do some Black Friday shopping today. Amanda says, your thoughts on contacting agents by email? Yes, I think that is a really great way to do it. I think there's a couple of things that I would be watching out for. First and foremost, does the agent offer any specific instructions for how they want to be contacted? What I mean by that is, if you look on their website, do they have a submission page, for example? If they have a specific submission page, follow that submission page. That is a test, okay? With some of these agents, they are literally testing you before you even start to see whether or not you can follow directions. So if they have a submission form, use the submission form. Don't think you're being smart and circumventing by going to email. All you're doing is possibly costing yourself an opportunity at that point. If they have a page that is just, maybe it's a submission page that offers very specific instructions, like exactly what they want you to submit. This is the information that we need. This is how we want you to send your demos. This is the labeling instructions for your demos. Like, they will give you all of the instructions and spell it out for you very clearly. And again, that is a test to see whether or not you have the ability to follow direction. So not everybody's going to have that, but before you do your submission, double check for that. Look through the website. Make sure there are no specific instructions anywhere. If you're going to reach out, I would say reach out with your commercial demo. I would say, can you help them see where you fill a void? So do you bring something special to the table? Do you bring something unique to the table? Did you look at their roster and there's not 27 other people on the roster who are already doing pretty much the exact same thing that you're doing? Look for that. Talking about the one time where I think it's okay to really kind of pump up your credits is when you're reaching out to an agent. So if you've got some big commercial stuff behind you, some big brands that you've worked with or whatever, that gives you credibility. Those are the types of things that agents are generally looking for. And so I think that's something that you could certainly include in your submission. They're probably going to want know a little bit about your studio, professional studio. Are you full-time or part-time? Do you have Source Connect? And the ability to do directed sessions, things of that nature. So really, with that email submission, you're trying to think about, what is an agent looking for and how can I show them very clearly that I have all of those things that they're looking for. Now, with that said, I also would not write a ginormous email, that's 27 pages long, because I don't think anybody's got time to read that either. So I think you give them the essentials, the things that you think that they're probably most likely looking for, the things that make you the most unique or qualified or worth consideration for their roster, and you go from there. I also think, and I have this, I've talked to several agents in the past who have reiterated this, that having a referral from somebody else on the roster can help. Obviously, it does not guarantee you anything, But if somebody is willing to vouch for you, sometimes that can help. Now, some agents won't even consider it, but other agents do. That does make an impact. So if you've worked with a really great, reputable demo producer, for example, that demo producer might be willing to give you a referral or make a recommendation for you. Or if you know somebody that's on that roster, maybe you've got a couple of colleagues that are on the roster that you've worked for, asking them if they would be willing to just, send a quick message to the agent on your behalf. Things like that can make a difference. Things like that help the agent to know, if 1,000 voice actors are submitting, you've got to have a way to weed through it. And that's one of the ways that agents can weed through it. So those are a few of the things that I would take into consideration, Amanda. And I hope that's been helpful for you. And good luck with your agent submissions, because obviously getting on the roster of a reputable agent is always a big deal and a really great way to get access to opportunities that you are probably otherwise not going to be able to get access to on your own. And so that's another one of the reasons why we like getting ourselves on some good agency rosters. So good luck with your submission. Enduring Media, how's your experience with Voice 123 so far? I don't know if this is strictly fact. All I can tell you is based on my direct experience at this point. When I first started on 123, I had a 1 in 3 audition to like ratio, right? So for every 3 auditions that I submitted, 1 was getting liked. And I was moving up. I moved up from the top 50% to the top 20%, and I moved up pretty quickly. But then I went to 1 in 4, which, I think is still reputable. And the reason why I went to 1 in 4, just to be clear, when I got into the top 20%, I started seeing a few more audition opportunities than I was seeing when I was in the bottom 50%. So I was able to submit a few extra things. And so when I started submitting a few extra things, I went to a 1 in 4 audition to like ratio, which again, I thought that was pretty good, but apparently it's not, because I've now started dropping back in the percentile again. So that's been problematic, because now that's again reduced the number of auditions that I'm seeing, reduced the quality of the auditions that I'm seeing. And then I get, I'm back in that situation where a lot of the auditions are coming between 1 and 4 a.m. Eastern time. And many of them are already closed off by the time I get into the studio in the morning, between 8 and 9 a.m. So I continue to press on. Samantha Damiano is doing an absolutely incredible job with the optimization of my profile. I'm ranking on page 1 and 2 for a lot of the searches that we're going after. There's a couple that I was ranking page 3 on, and Sam took it personal, which is one of the reasons why I love her. Like, she literally was like, what? No way. And so she's taken it very personal that I'm on page 3 because, she thinks it's like a reflection of her efforts. I'm like, I'm on page 3. Like, before I wasn't even on page 20. So I think it's amazing. But she's like, no, we're going to get you to page 1 on everything. So I continue to set her free to do whatever it is that she does and try to get me moved up. So I've been on the platform, I guess, for about a month now. Despite the fact that I have a lot of page 1 rankings, I still have not received one single direct invitation. Which is interesting. I thought I might have had a couple by now. I don't know if that's a testament to my demos. I don't think my demos are bad. I do think that one of the challenges that I face is when somebody sees my profile when it first pops up. This is problematic. This is what they see, right? So they see, oh, this guy's a top 30%. He has no response time. He has no reviews. He has no bookings. And he's been on the platform since June of 2008. Does that look like the kind of voice actor that you would hire if you were going to do a direct buy? And so I did originally join Voice 123 in 2008. Yes. But I have been off the platform for, I think, 12 years. And so that's why I don't have any reviews or any bookings or anything like that. But it's misleading, because it looks like this guy's been a voice actor on this platform since 2008 and he's never booked a job. Like, that looks really bad. And this is what somebody would see if they were looking at my profile and thinking about potentially inviting me directly. It's like the top 30%, no reviews, no bookings, and he's been a voice actor on the platform since 2008. Clearly, this is not a guy that we're going to spend a lot of time on. Now, I don't know for a fact that that's why I'm not getting any direct bookings, but I do know that that is certainly something that is not helping me at this point. And I do think that that's one of the flaws in the Voice 123 system. I think that it plays against voice actors, particularly voice actors who have been on the platform before, but then, gone away for a while and come back. But I continue to press on. I can only control the things that I can control, which is my auditioning and trying to submit the best reads that I can. And then having Sam, work her magic on my profile is something else that is within my control. I mean, it's in Sam's control, but Sam's working for me at this point. But other than that, I mean, there's nothing else I can do, right? The money's spent. I'm on the platform. I'm a member for, till October of next year. So all I can do is try my best. All right. What other questions? Sapphire says, if you reached out via form the first time and haven't heard back, but you want to wish them a happy holiday, is it okay to email them? I'm assuming we're talking about agents. We're going back to the agent conversation here. I don't think there's anything wrong with a follow-up. Now, I know that there are some agents that might disagree with me on this, but I also know that there are some agents who do agree with me on this. Look, agents are busy. They're busy. They got a lot of stuff going on. They're no different than anybody else in that regard, that they've got businesses to run. They've got auditions. They're managing talent. They've got large numbers of talent on their roster, and it's really easy for an email to slip through the crack. So do I think if you have filled out a form, an agency form, submitted, and haven't heard anything back, do I think there's anything wrong with a quick follow-up? Absolutely no. I do not think there's anything wrong with sending a quick follow-up and bumping yourself top of mind again. In my mind, it makes you look professional and committed. Would I continue following up with them like every week for the next 6 months? No, absolutely not. But would I periodically just, send a follow-up here or there or whatever? I don't think you've got, you're already not on the roster at that point, so I don't necessarily think you've got anything to lose. I mean, I guess an argument could be made that you could, get yourself on the blacklist or whatever, but a friendly follow-up, I don't think is what's going to get you on the blacklist. So I would do it and have done it, and I don't think that that's too big of an issue. TJ says, maybe if the first line in the about, something about I'm back after taking a Voice 123 break. I had thought about that. My about section is the next big thing that needs to be overhauled, because honestly, right now it's not great. And so that is one of the things that Sam and I are talking about. We started having some back and forth email communication about it this week. I hadn't thought about that line, but that's interesting. That might be something to consider. All right. What else? Glad to see it's definitely a platform that everyone faces the same issues despite experience level. Thanks, Marc. What I would say is across the board, I'm talking to voice actors. At this point, I've talked to several voice actors who are at the elite level. Their experience is just not normal, right? They have a totally high level experience that none of the rest of us will experience. Basically, they have the free range of the platform, right? If you're at the elite level, which is the $5,000, and that's very limited. There's only a certain number of people that can do it. My understanding is that you can sit on the wait list for that for years. Obviously, you're going to get access to all of the auditions. You're going to get access to the auditions first. You're going to get the best rankings and searches, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's what you're paying for. I don't love the model, but I don't fault the people who are taking advantage of it. I mean, why wouldn't you take advantage of it if you have the ability to take advantage of it? It does seem that the $2,200 level, which is the next tier down from elite, seems to be the next most successful tier. I've talked to a number of voice actors who are at 888, which is where I bought in. I bought in at 888. I've talked to a number of voice actors who are at 888 who are having a very similar experience to me, where, they're trying to do all of the things, but they're still not getting great access to auditions. Most of the ones that I have talked to have, paid back their memberships kind of deal. The ones that are doing the best are definitely the 2,200. Like, it seems pretty consistently across the board The ones that have gone to 2,200, it makes a big difference. You get obviously more auditions. You also get those auditions earlier. You get a preferred ranking in the searches and whatnot as well. And so, again, I don't love the system, but it's the system, and you play within it. So for anybody that's able to get in at that level, it does seem like that makes a difference. Now, that being said, does that mean that anybody could pay $2,200 and start making money on Voice 123? No, it does not. Your performance is still obviously key in all of this. You have to have great reads. You have to be a great auditioner. You have to have all the samples. You have to have a fully optimized profile. Like, you have to have all the pieces of the puzzle in place. You can't just throw money at it and win. And so, that's obviously a factor too. But I mean, that's, for me, that's one of the reasons why I'm doing coaching again and trying to see, is it my auditions that are the problem? Is it something else? I don't know. Let's figure it out. And so that's what I'm working on. But yeah, Voice 123 continues to be a puzzle that I have yet to solve. And that's coming from someone who had a tremendous level of success on that platform a number of years ago when it worked very differently. I will say that I reached out to voices.com. I was going to attempt to log into my profile and maybe just update it or something like that. And my email address was rejected. It said that you must contact customer support. So it would appear that I am still banned on voices.com. So that was 3 or 4 days ago that I reached out to customer support and asked about getting my profile reactivated. And I never got a response from customer support. So I assume that my face is still on a dartboard somewhere at headquarters. And that's a bummer, because I thought that I was really fair to them in the recent episode of the podcast that Gina Scarpa and I did together. I thought that I was actually really fair to them. But hey, whatever. I was just curious what the platform looked like and wanted to see it again since it's been so long. Silky Camo, how many agents do you have? I currently have, we'll say 3-ish. One of my agents is kind of taking a break right now, but I'm still on the roster, and I still occasionally see something, but I currently have 3. Once I get my new commercial demo, I'm working on a new commercial demo with JMC. Once I have that, I'm going to try to pick up a couple more. Working on a couple of strategic ideas to pick up a couple of more. But I would like to get at least 2 or 3 more. And I mean, I know some voice actors who've got like 30. I don't know that I could handle that. I don't think I could handle that audition load, but I certainly would like to pick up a couple more. David says, so Voice 123 penalizes me for being on the platform since 2008, but not auditioning. I mean, I don't know if that's exactly how I would say it, but in some senses, if you think about how it presents to the end user, right? If you think about how that presents to the end user, they see these statistics, or as I understand it, they see these statistics. So if you're a buyer looking at profiles and you see somebody who's been on the platform since 2008 who has no bookings and no reviews, I mean, it's not a good look. Right? To me, anyway, it's not a good look. So is Voice 123 intentionally punishing me? I wouldn't necessarily say that, but is it a flaw in the platform? I think it's probably a flaw that could be revisited and rejigged a little bit. Question, shouldn't they just use auditions submitted in a short period of time, 3 months, and just roll that over? The way that Voice 123 works, I'm assuming we're still talking about Voice 123 here. My understanding is that it's for the trailing 12-month period. So anything within the last 12 months is what shows up in your statistics. And then after that, it falls off, except for, I guess, the bookings maybe. So you have to understand that when I was on the platform, the last time I had a paid membership on the platform, there was no such thing as reviews, and there was no such thing as bookings. And so that's why, even though I've booked tens of thousands of dollars off Voice 123 in the past, it doesn't look like it, because those things did not exist on the platform at the time that I was previously a paid member. So that's part of the problem there as well. JMC once said in a tweet, "It's possible to get an agent without a pro demo." Have you ever seen it happen? Off the top of my head, no. I'm not going to say it's impossible, because I think it comes back to something that I was talking about earlier. Can you fill a void? If you bring something to the table that they don't already have on their roster, and that's something that they feel like they could potentially book for or book with, could you land an agent without a pro demo? I mean, I suppose it's possible. I definitely think that the odds are much more in your favor if you have a professional demo. How many auditions do you submit a day on average? What's your booking ratio? So honestly, on Voice 123 right now, because I'm just not getting the auditions. So I can tell you I have submitted 17 auditions in the last, 5 weeks that I've been on the platform, maybe. I've submitted 17 auditions. I have 4 shortlists, and I believe 3 of my auditions were not listened to. So if that's the case, then, 4 shortlists out of 14, right? Because the 3 that weren't listened to, I mean, technically don't count in that regard. I mean, they do as far as Voice 123 is concerned, but they don't as far as I'm concerned. So no bookings yet, but again, only 17 auditions submitted. I mean, I'm submitting a couple times a week, and that's mostly because that's all I'm seeing to submit for. I'm just not getting a ton of stuff. Well, I shouldn't say that. I probably get 5 to 8 invitations a day. On average, 5 to 8 invitations a day. The way the statistics were leaning, and I tracked them for the first several weeks, the way the statistics were leaning was 30% of the auditions that I received were closed before I had a chance to submit for them. So those were the ones that were coming in the middle of the night. And by the time I got into the studio in the morning, it was already too late for me to submit. So about 30% of the auditions were closed before I had the opportunity to submit. About 40% of the auditions that I was seeing, I was not a match for. So they were asking for, Arabic, African-American, European accents, Cajun accents, Midwest, Wisconsin accents, like a lot of accents and different languages and stuff like that. So I just wasn't a match at all for them. Or they were for genres like, I don't do gaming and animation. I have no training, no skill set, no interest at this point. So I don't consider myself a match for them. So I'm deleting them. So about 40% of the stuff that comes in, I'm just not a match for. So I would say about 15% were jobs that I would never submit for anyway. Those are the $250 global usage and perpetuity commercials and stuff like that. I will never submit for something like that. And there's a decent amount of those. And then, the remaining 10 to 15% is kind of what I've looked at and seriously considered submitting for or submitting for. And I was tracking every audition for about a 4-week period. And I was literally keeping track of what was the audition, did I submit, why didn't I submit, and so I could track the data. And that's kind of how the data measured out for me. I'm not tracking the data that closely at this point because it's kind of averaged out. That kind of seems to be where I'm at. But I've heard it's only beneficial to have an agent in each major market and then maybe 1 or 2 regional agents due to overlap and conflicting auditions. And I think that's probably, for the most part, I think that's probably true. But I do think it also depends on your definition of regional. So a regional agent could literally just be one state. A regional agent could also be like a group of states. So you might get a regional agent that does, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, kind of the region. You could just as easily get a regional agent who literally just does Texas. So I do think that it matters, but I definitely think spreading them out geographically makes a difference. But yes, the more agents that you have, obviously, the higher the probability that you are going to get duplicate auditions. And so in that case, you just have to choose who you're going to audition for. Some people will say, I'm only going to submit for whoever submitted first or whoever I got the audition from first. Some people will say, X agent is my home agent or my parent agent or my main agent or whatever you want to call them. And so I'm always going to give them priority. And so I think there are some different ways to approach that. Let's see what else is going on. Again, if you guys have questions for Free Advice Friday, by all means, I'm happy to answer questions, as many questions as I can. Don't be shy. Type the question into the comments. Put a Q beside it. Happy to talk about anything voiceover business and marketing related, whatever you want to talk about. Online casting is an interesting beast. I'm trying to understand it better. I have not formulated an opinion at this point. I'm trying to understand it better. That's all I'll say. I think good business means having as many potential revenue streams as possible. And I think that's not just a voiceover principle. I think that's just a good business principle. And so if you can get auditions coming from your direct marketing, great. If you can get auditions coming from your agents, great. If you can get auditions coming from a couple of casting sites, great. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just diversify where my auditions are coming from and getting access to as many opportunities as I possibly can. And whether or not ultimately Voice 123 works out for me, I guess time will tell. We'll see. It's only been a month, so we're still early. Any new books you've added to your reading list? I am currently reading Mo Gadet. I'm totally brain farting on the title of it, but it's about stress, and it's really awesome. Mo was Unstressable. That's the name of the book, Unstressable. Mo was very high up the food chain at Google for a long time, involved in multiple projects. I think some of the AI stuff going on at Google. I listened to him on a podcast with Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO, and I was really impressed with him. I thought he gave a great interview. So I picked up a copy of his book, Unstressable, and I've been really enjoying that. And I've actually been taking my time reading it, which normally I don't. Normally I just kind of plow through them, but I've actually been taking my time reading it, making a lot of notes. Here's one for you. This is legit. I have not slept with my phone in proximity, my phone or my tablet. I have not slept with them in proximity for a month. And I track my sleep on my my Apple Watch here. And that's the only major change that I made. I have not been going on my devices after 9 o'clock at night. Obviously every once in a while there's an exception to the rule for one reason or another. But by and large, the phone and the tablet go away. I do not go on them after 9 o'clock at night, and I do not have proximity to them when I am sleeping. So it's not like they're in the bed or, on the nightstand or whatever. It's the only thing that I've done differently with regards to my sleep. And I went from averaging 20 minutes of deep sleep a night to averaging almost 50 minutes of deep sleep a night. And this is something that I picked up from the book. So I'm going to say that works. And that was a big problem for me because I am a guy that has sleeping issues. I've always had sleeping issues. I had a doctor years ago try to put me on medication for sleeping, and I refused to do it. I don't want to be reliant on medication to sleep. So I'm always open to new strategies and tactics. And so this was one that I was trying because if I can't sleep, what's my default? I pull out my iPad. I start reading on Kindle. Or I start scrolling through the Apple News app, or I start looking at stock charts or whatever. And the next thing I know, it's 4 hours later and I am still not sleeping. By taking that temptation away, by, first of all, not being on it as late at night, not being on it right up until bedtime, and then taking the temptation away, it's made a huge impact on my sleep. And I give full credit to Mo Gadet for that. And I started spending a lot less time on social media scrolling. That's one of the other changes that I've implemented as a result of the book, just to see. And so I had gotten to a point where I was having serious jaw issues, and I had talked to my dentist about it, and I had talked to a doctor about it, and they decided that I was clenching, and they said I was clenching because I was too stressed, and so I had to get a mouth guard and go through this whole entire thing. And so when I stopped spending as much time scrolling, and my excuse for scrolling was always, I'm just trying to stay up to date, right? I've got a lot of money invested in the markets. I'm helping parents with investments. I need to know what's going on. I want to stay informed, whatever. It was always my excuse. When I stopped doing that as much, I have not had to sleep with my mouth guard in about 3 weeks now. Because I'm not as stressed, apparently. So, apparently it works. So, yes, that's Mogadet Unstressable. Here, hang on. I'm going to look it up. Maybe there's a Black Friday deal on it. Let's see. Mogadet Unstressable. Oh, yeah, look at that. 24% off. Hang on a second. I'm going to put a link in the chat. Please stand by. Totally worth the read. And like I said, I'm not even done yet, but totally worth the read. Get link. Here we go. Get link. Copy. Boom. There we go. Put the link in the chat. Check it out. Great book. Great question. I got a bunch of other books that I'm, kind of reading on the go as well. I'm reading one right now called Cloud Money, and it's about the transition from cash to a cashless society, and how basically we've been marketed to convince us that a cashless society is the way to go. But if you actually start to understand everything that's going on behind the scenes, it kind of all of a sudden makes you want to stop using your bank card. Not that it's not a conspiracy theory book. It's just a logical explanation for why going completely cashless is probably not a great idea. And so, I've been reading that, and that's been interesting. Did you previously use the phone as an alarm clock? What do you use now with phone not in proximity? I have my watch on because I keep my Apple Watch on, and so my watch alarm, it vibrates. I don't actually have an audible alarm. I don't like audible alarms. I don't like being startled awake, but I will wake up to anything. And so, I just, my alarm on my watch will just start vibrating on my wrist, the haptic thing or whatever. And that gets me up. Oh, I'll tell you, this is one of the other reasons too, why, my wife regrets ever introducing me to Book Outlet, the website Book Outlet. But one of the reasons why I love it is because I get actual physical books. And so I can still read at night. And I do. I read a couple hours every night without having to use the iPad. And I love the convenience of reading on Kindle. I love the fact that I don't have to store all the books on Kindle because they're just sitting there floating around in the cloud. The problem was I'm reading a book on Kindle, but I'm still getting pinged with notifications, or, every once in a while I'll stop and check my email or whatever. And so it was distraction, right? And now I'm sitting and just reading a physical book. There is no distraction. There's no notifications. There's no pinging. There's no temptation to do anything else, just read. And so not only am I reading more books, which has been great, but I'm also not having the blue light or whatever it is. And, it's been good all around. The problem now is that I'm running out of room to store all of my books. That's the downside, if there is such a thing as a downside to reading books. All right. What else is going on? What other questions can I answer for you? What do you guys want to talk about on Free Advice Friday? The demo experience has been fun. I sat down this past week and started jotting down ideas for my demo so that I was able to send those over to JMC, some of the types of spots that I think that I might like, or some of the brands that I might like to have on my demo. So I've been working on that. I've been having a good time working with Brad. who's definitely been challenging me. Very much looking forward to getting a new demo online. My commercial demo is old. It is. It was a great demo. It was an award-nominated demo in its day. I didn't prioritize it as much because commercial's just not a genre that I worked in a lot. And so it was like, it was just always there, but it was never anything that I was focused on. But now I realized like, that's a bad strategy. That's a really bad strategy. So I'm looking forward to getting that one updated. We've got a date at the end of January. We've got a record date set for the end of January now. So it's coming. Fingers crossed, maybe I'll get that thing nominated for an award. Maybe I'll win an award. Maybe it'll finally be my chance to actually win one of these awards. I've been nominated for Sovas a couple of times, but maybe it'll be my chance to actually win one. But either way, I'm really excited to have a new commercial demo that I feel really good about, feel really confident about, and can start shopping around to some different agents. I'll tell you my thought process. I teach stuff and I practice what I preach. Just so everybody knows, I practice what I preach, and so. My dream genre is intro narration. That is my absolute dream genre, and I don't think that is a secret. I think I've been pretty open and honest about the fact that I want to do documentary and intro narration. That's what I love. What I have come to realize is that work is really hard to find, and you've got to have the right agents to get access to some of that stuff, particularly at the network level, like if you want to do Discovery Channel or things of that nature. Okay, so fine, reverse engineer the goal, right? This is what I teach, reverse engineer the goal. So that's what I've been doing. So I sit down and I say, okay, I need to get a couple of really strategic agents to try to get access to some of this documentary and in-show, but no agent is going to take me right now with the commercial demo that I have. It's too old. So I got to go out and I got to get a really awesome commercial demo. I need to have great coaching so that I can have the ability to deliver, so that I can get really good in the commercial space. I mean, this is what I'm hoping to do anyway. Get that JMC commercial demo, use that JMC commercial demo to get onto the roster of some of these agents that I'm looking for. And then hopefully that gets me the access to the documentary and in-show narration, which I have been trying to get. And so I'm just doing what I teach. I look at the big goal, reverse engineer it, take all the steps necessary. And so that's what's going on. Do you have any favorite voice actors that inspired you when you first got started? When I was a kid, my goal was to be Casey Kasem. Legitimately, that was my goal. I listened to Casey's Top 40 every weekend, and that was the goal. I wanted to be Casey Kasem because I thought this dude works 4 hours a week. I mean, I'm a kid. I don't know any better, right? He works 4 hours a week doing a countdown, and he gets to do Scooby-Doo. Like, literally, is there a better life than that? 12-year-old me apparently thought there was no better life than that. And so that was always my goal, was to be Casey Kasem. And, in my broadcast career, I had the opportunity to do a syndicated radio countdown show for a couple of years. I had the opportunity to do 2 syndicated music video countdown shows for a number of years. So I achieved that. I was on one cartoon back in the, early 2000s, maybe. I was on one cartoon for like 2 episodes. So I was like, great, I became Casey Kasem. Not quite, obviously, but he was one of the biggest inspirations for me. I will never forget, in 2000, I think it was 2016, I got a Voice Arts Award nomination, went to LA for the first time. And the day before the ceremony, my wife and I were walking Hollywood Boulevard, and I have this picture of me crouched down with my hand on Casey Kasem's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And it was like literally one of the coolest moments of my life. Like, seriously, one of the coolest moments of my life. That was like the closest that I would ever get to Casey Kasem. But to be there and to stand there and be at his star, that was it. Like, I felt like I had arrived at that point. Now my goal is to be Mike Rowe. Mike's great, and Mike can keep being Mike. I just want to be like Mike, right? Just a different Mike, right? I'm never going to play basketball. Not for lack of trying when I was younger, but yeah, I want to be like Mike, but I want to be like Mike Rowe, not Michael Jordan. He's a guy that I love. I mean, I could listen to that guy all day. I love listening to him on podcasts, and I love listening to the shows that he narrates. And so he's the guy that is pushing me now. He doesn't know it, but he's the guy that is inspiring me now. Is Mike Rowe. Been watching Ken Burns' The American Revolution, and it has been amazing. Yes, I have said for years that one day Peter Coyote is going to retire, and I am finally going to get my shot with Ken Burns. That would be like the pinnacle, right? Like if I had the opportunity to do a Ken Burns documentary, I think I would probably just retire at that point. I think I would just be like, okay, that's it. I will never do anything cooler than this, and so let's just quit while we're on top. It's like the baseball player who hands in his retirement papers right after getting his World Series ring, right? Just go out on top. That would kind of be how it would feel like for me, I think, at this point. Julie says, it's nice to hear that people who have been in the business and doing it for a while, you're reaching out and sharing your truth with coaching and working. Hey, look, at Mavo, I did a talk called Up and to the Right. Real talk about the growth trajectory of your voiceover business. And one of the elements of that talk was this idea that in your career, there will come a point where you will find your money read. And your money read is going to make you a lot of money. But something's going to happen. One day, your money read is not going to be the money read anymore. And you're going to stop making money. And I have lived through that several times in my career. I have found a money read where I literally felt like I booked every single audition that I submitted in a particular genre because I had the read. I had the read and I made bank. And then that read changed. The read that everybody was looking for changed, but I hadn't changed with it. And all of a sudden that work went away. My money read wasn't the money read anymore. And so if you're in the industry, in my opinion anyway, if you're in the industry long enough, you will go through that. There will come a point where you will find a read that will make you really good money, and then the industry will shift, and that will not be the read that's booking anymore. And what are you going to do at that point? Are you going to sit down and reminisce about the good old days and be bitter about the fact that you're not hiring anymore because you used to be a six-figure voice actor or whatever? Or are you going to say, okay, let's go find a new money read. Let's figure this out again. And sit down and work with a coach and have that opportunity. Guys, look, I did a workshop earlier this week with Rebecca Costa, and she's with Go Button Media, big production company in Toronto, and it was an in-show narration workout. And there was 10 of us who had the opportunity to read for her. I was so nervous, I almost couldn't breathe. Like when I was sitting in the workshop, I was watching, I was like, oh, this is, it was so cool, right? But as soon as it became my turn to read, I was almost choking on myself. Like that's how nervous I was about being in this workshop. Like it's not easy for me sometimes to figure this out. It's definitely not easy for me to be in a situation where everybody's looking at me. Like that scares the living crap out of me. But also, I want that genre more than anything in the world as far as voiceover is concerned. And so to have the opportunity to read for somebody who has access to that work, like I do not want to screw that up. I was terrified. And I don't, if anybody was watching, like anybody that was in the workshop, they probably wouldn't have known it. They probably thought I looked grumpy. I didn't look grumpy. I looked like deer in headlights. Like that's how I felt. But I'm doing the things that I need to do to get me access to the opportunities that I need to get access to. And sometimes that is not comfortable, but that's the name of the game, right? If you settle, you can get complacent. You're not going to build a successful business that way, right? How many times a day would you practice different copy? I mean, for me at this point, it's through my auditioning. So, I might do a couple of auditions a day. Some days I might not have any. Some days I might do 6. At this point, I probably don't have access to as many auditions as I probably should, just because of the fact that I don't do all of the casting sites and things of that nature. And a lot of the projects that I'm getting Like with clients, like I don't have to audition for a lot of stuff for my clients. A lot of my clients are just hiring me. So for actual auditions, it's, it's agents and casting sites and then, the occasional prospect that I'm trying to finally land an opportunity with. What I would say about practicing, the biggest thing about practicing is just to make sure that you're practicing right. Anybody can sit down and spend an hour a day practicing, but if you're practicing the wrong things, all you're doing is reinforcing a bad habit, a bad behavior, whatever. And so you got to make sure that you're practicing right. And that's where I think the coaching comes in as well, and making sure that you're practicing in the right way. So I think that's really important too. What are your 2026 goals? Okay. I don't know if I should say this one out loud. There's only one other person that I've said this goal to. First and foremost, before we go there, get my JMC demo. I want that thing to get award nominated. I'd really love to win an award for that demo. I also want it to land me at least 2 new agents. That's one of the things. So that's going to be a big priority for me next year. Finish that demo, get an award nomination. I'd love to get an award win. But I really want to get a couple of new agents and strategic agents who will hopefully get me access to the in-show narration stuff. So that's one goal. Second goal, finally book a series. I am so committed to that. I can't even tell you. I talked about this. I did a podcast interview. Mitch and Mike, I was on their show a few weeks ago, and it was the first time that I had ever said it out loud. So that, they got the exclusive. But when my wife and I first got married, she had 2 kids, and they were, when I first came into their life, they were 3 and 8. And at that point, I was a firefighter. I was also doing voiceover, but I was a firefighter. And when my kids would go to school and everybody's like, what's your dad do? And they would say, my dad's a firefighter. And that was cool, right? Everybody loves firefighters. Firefighters are cool. And so those 2 girls, they always had that opportunity to tell all their friends that their dad was a firefighter. And that was the cool thing that their dad did. Now I have 2 more kids who are mine with my wife. And the other 2 are mine as far as I'm concerned anyway. Different story for a different day. So I got a 4-year-old. Kaylee just started kindergarten. And when Kaylee gets asked at school, what's your dad do? And they're like, well, he's a voice actor. And like, oh, well, what have we heard him on? And she's like, oh, well, some random obscure e-learning for your 2026 employee benefits package for such and such a company, right? Like, it doesn't make for a good story. What is driving me now is when Kaylee gets asked at school, what does your dad do? I want her to be able to say, he's the voice of that show on Discovery Channel. Like that, the energy that pulses through me when I think about that, like it almost makes me want to cry. I have that strong of a why now. Like I have identified that strong of a why. And so that's what's pushing me next year. Get this commercial demo, get a couple new agents that can get me access to some of these series, keep working in the narration space, practicing workshops, whatever I can find so that I can book that narration. That's my 2026 goal. That's where I'm going in 2026. Now, there is one other random goal. Again, I've never said this one out loud. Only one other person knows about this goal. But for 20 years, I have said that I would never do audiobooks. Audiobooks scare the crap out of me. I have massive respect for audiobook narrators, but audiobooks legitimately scare the crap out of me. The commitment, the stamina, the whole thing, the idea of, multiple characters and all that sort of stuff. Like it literally stresses me out thinking about it. But I recently got a connection in my network who has access to books that are under the Forbes publishing label. Now, I read Forbes cover to cover every month. My entire library of books is primarily business books, business entrepreneurs, biographies, business books, sales books, marketing books. Like literally, this is what I read. And so I was given the opportunity to audition for a couple of audiobooks. And I was like, this is like, what are we talking about here? Like I legitimately said I was never going to do audiobooks ever, but I got sent 3 auditions initially. And as I was kind of looking over the manuscripts, I was like, okay, this is absolutely a book that I would sit down and read. Like I would go out and buy this book. If I saw this on the shelf, I would probably buy this book. And so then I'm like, well, if I saw this on the shelf and I would go out and buy it and sit down and read it, why not read it and get paid for it, right? So I told this person that not only was I going to audition for audiobooks, for some of these audiobooks that they were sending me, I said, I'm going to book one of these things and we're going to win an award for it. And I said, that is going to fracture the collective mind of the voiceover community, possibly more than like the concept of AI. For 20 years, the people who have listened to Marc Scott say he was never going to do an audiobook ever. For Marc Scott to win an award for an audiobook, like that would literally just blow people's minds. And so I was like, we got to make that a goal for 2026. I'm going to book one of these things and I'm going to record an audiobook and get an award win for it. So that's like the random 2026 goal that literally nobody else knows about. So you guys got to hear that one. You know, you got the exclusive for being on, you got the exclusive for being on Free Advice Friday. I said that I was going to do some giveaways. So I have been writing down names and doing random drawing here kind of on my own. So Enduring Media LLC, I want you to send me an email. I'm going to put my message. I'm going to put my email in there. Enduring Media LLC. Hopefully you are still on the chat. I want you to send me an email to mark@markscottvoiceover.com. I am going to hook you up with a free copy of Booked for the Holidays, which is the holiday workshop that I was telling you about. The Black Friday special on now, VOpreneur.com/Black Friday. You can grab it for $47, but Enduring Media LLC, you do not have to grab it because you are now going to receive it for free. Thanks for showing up for Free Advice Friday. Thanks for asking your questions. Send me an email, mark@markscottvoiceover.com, and I will get you set up with it. So that is that. For those of you that are still interested in any of the classes that I have to offer, let me just quickly walk you through Making Money with LinkedIn, 2-hour deep dive into everything that I am doing on LinkedIn to grow my network, create content, and book opportunities through LinkedIn. 101 ways to find voiceover leads. It's actually 122 ways, 122 different places where you could look for voiceover leads. A 2-hour class that's all we talk about is where to find voiceover leads. Follow-up Academy, that's a 2-hour masterclass that walks you through my entire follow-up strategy. That course was I retaught it a couple of months ago because I totally overhauled my follow-up strategy. So it walks you through everything I'm doing for follow-up, gives you a lot of ideas, some templates that you can work off of. So if your follow-up game is weak, there's an opportunity. Those are regular 147, so it's $50 off for those classes right now. The discount's already applied. Let's see what else. Content Compass is a 1-hour course that is going to teach you how to create a content creation strategy that you can use over and over and over again. One of the reasons why we don't create content is because we say we don't know what to share. I'm going to solve that problem for you with Content Compass. That is half price. The VOpreneur Inbox Playbook, that is a 1-hour class that is going to teach you how to get into the inbox and out of the spam folder. So it's all about the things that you can be doing on the back end to make sure that your emails are actually landing in the inbox. One of the challenges with email marketing now is that it feels like everything goes to spam. And so there are things that are within our control to try to prevent that from happening. And so that's literally a step-by-step walkthrough of how to do that. And there are some really great bonus resources included in that one as well. So that's the Inbox Playbook. It's also half price. Marketing outside of the box. I know that not everybody gets excited about email marketing. So that class is a bunch of different ways to market outside of traditional email marketing. That one is also half price. These 3 here are downloadable resources, 50 content ideas that add value, literally 50 different ways, 50 different ideas for social media posts, 40 job titles to connect with. I went through my entire CRM and I picked out the most common job titles for the people that I'm working with, put them all into a list, and that's available. So that can help you with lead generation, who to look for and connect with on LinkedIn. So that one's there, 40 job titles to connect with. And then the VOpreneur subject line reference guide gives you a couple dozen ideas for subject lines for your marketing emails and some themes that you can lean into to help you create those over and over and over again. And then, of course, Booked for the Holidays. Like I said, that one there, half price right now. That's a couple dozen different ways that you can market yourself in fun and unique ways over the course of the holiday season. So if you want to take advantage of any of those deals, they are on throughout the weekend. Go to VOpreneur.com/Black Friday to grab any of those courses. Guys, there's one more thing I want to tell you about quickly before I have to go, and that is the 12 voiceover gifts of Christmas. So I have now confirmed the 12 main prizes. We've got the Demo Dream Team: Everett Oliver, Ann Ganguza, Mary Lynn Wisner, Tina Marasco, Joe Cipriano, Cliff Zellman, Kay Bess, Hugh Klitsky, Kelly Mashinsky, JMC, and then I will be offering up a prize as always as well. So those are the 12 main prizes for the 12 voiceover gifts of Christmas. My goal is to have the page ready to be launched by December 1st. So ideally by December 1st, you'll be able to sign up to enter. I could tell you right now that I'm just getting started, but I have already collected almost $20,000 in prizes at this point. Last year, we gave away over $36,000 in prizes to 84 different voice actors. I don't know if I can top that this year, but I'm certainly going to try. And so that's what's up with the 12 voiceover gifts of Christmas. Details will be coming very soon, so please stand by. Ideally, like I said, December 1st, I'll have things ready to go. I've already got the page created. I'm just trying to get a few things sorted out on the back end, and then we'll be ready to go for entry for the 12 voiceover gifts of Christmas. But yes, it is back this year. I'm very excited about it. I mean, we're talking about, I think there's 3 different demos at this point. Conference registrations, courses, workshops, private coaching. Like, guys, it's legit this year. So that's what's up for the 12 voiceover gifts of Christmas. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me, spending some time with me on Black Friday while you're doing your Christmas shopping on Amazon or whatever the case may be. It's been fun. I am going to now do what every dad dreams of doing, and that is taking his 17-year-old daughter to the mall on Black Friday. That should be super fun. We got to go do some Christmas shopping, so I told her that I would go with her as soon as I was done the live stream. So I'm wrapping this up so that I can go to the mall with a 17-year-old on Black Friday. Pray for me. Send Dr. Pepper. All right, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. As always, whatever you decide to do this weekend, have fun, stay safe, and go find some leads.